behind me.
We've come full circle.
How do you mean?
Well, I was on your podcast at one time, and now you quit doing them, and I started doing them, and now you're on my show. It's like this circle that we've gone around in.
That's right. That's right. Well, the student becomes the master.
Oh, fuck. I'm far from the master, I tell you. But I'll tell you what, I've seen a couple other libertarian podcasts, and at least the conversation's good. The production level's low, but the conversation level's high on mine. So that's...
Hey, you win some, you lose some, right?
That's right. That's right.
Well, I think that quality is one of the things we let get in the way too often, right? We let the perfect become the enemy of the good, and we don't produce those important conversations because we're afraid of what people will think about them.
Right.
Oh, this isn't flashy enough, this isn't HD enough, this isn't, well, you're never going to be as good as the two big parties, first of all. You're never going to be as good as them. They can afford the best graphic artists, the best video production, the best marketing. Well, everyone except Peter McKay, I guess. Peter McKay, I'm not sure
for whatever reason, yeah.
Not sure what's going on over there. His media is...
I'm starting a grassroots movement with really shitty video.
Did you see the picture of him with the milk stash?
Yes. Oh my God. Like the Andrew Scheer milk stash?
No. Peter McKay did it too.
Oh yeah, I know, but I mean, it was like, yeah, he's like,
you're calling it the Andrew Scheer stash.
Yes, it's the Andrew Scheer move, right? Like,
yeah, right.
Just so you all know, I'll suck the fucking dick of all of you guys too. Here, look, here's my dick stash.
Oh God, it's so bad. It's so bad, right? He's like on social media. We need to celebrate Milk Day or whatever the hell it's called, and it's like everyone knows what you're doing right now.
Sure, it's
everyone.
You might as well be doing this,
right? Well, or just why not? You know what? Just bring them on your show at that point, right? Hey, I'm Peter McKay, and this is one of the dairy farmer lobbyists. He's a great friend of mine. We go way back because of course. Right, so
I get a 30% discount, and I can drink whole milk. Fuck you, Canada.
Yep.
Where do we go with all of this though? Is
well, you know what?
Thing.
I mean, this is your show, but I had an idea of where we could start out, which is to not talk about federal politics, the cesspool of the goddamn ass end of the earth, and talk about the fact that this gentleman sitting across from me digitally here is the leader of the what?
The OLP, buddy. Not the Ontario Liberal Party, which is the OLP. But the Ontario Libertarian Party.
Yeah, we got to get a new word.
Well, and I get that, and I've been mulling that over too because I'm in Ontario here. I'm pushing, talking to the Northern Ontario Party, talking to the Freedom Party, talking to the Alliance Party. It's time to unite. We all have very similar platforms. We want direct democracy. We want to see a shrink in the overreach of the province. There's so many places that we align. And my new phrase lately is, let's all unite behind our rights and the rest we can figure out.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's just all have a common goal of I want my rights. I want my invaluable rights that are supposed to be in the Charter of Privileges and Allowances.
Yeah, well, you nailed it on the head there, right? Like father, like son. I mean, Justin Trudeau could not have a greater contempt for the average Canadian citizen. And he's been caught saying as much. He doesn't care for Canada as it is.
No, we don't exist. We're a postmodern nation state that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
If you're white and you're male, you can go fuck yourself.
I mean, I literally watched a video yesterday of a bunch of white people lining up to kiss the boot of a black man. And I thought there's quite possibly nothing more dangerous than encouraging this behavior, because people who are willing to make you kiss their filthy boots are not that far away from just removing you from the picture entirely. You're already worthless to them. You're less than human. You are trash to them. Kiss my boot and be thankful I let you live is the message. And maybe that seems extreme to some people, but man, if we do one good thing today, it will be drawing a very clear, distinct line that you could see from space between protesters and the other business that is going on right now.
Right. You betcha.
Because unequivocally, we all agree, George Floyd was murdered.
Yeah.
He was murdered in cold blood by a ruthless pig, and that pig's going to go to prison. Good.
I hope so. And I hope actually he actually gets the death penalty, because you can't. And I'm not a death penalty fan. Oh, I'm not sure in that state, but it's a federal offense, isn't it? What he just did, isn't that like fucking top of the line? And
I think he's going up for second degree. I think.
That's right. No, they said third degree murder, second degree manslaughter, because they wanted to lessen it. And then he's going to negotiate out of it. He's going to plead guilty to kind of hurting somebody somewhere, and he'll get 5 years probation served. Mm-hmm. And he'll walk out on the street, and some black guy's going to fucking pop him off, and that guy's going to get 50,000 years in fucking prison.
Because that's the way that works.
Because that's cold-blooded, and how dare you?
Man, this is actually such a good thing to talk about, because it's really poignant. The number of times in the past, I'll say 72 hours, that I have been called a racist. Not for saying racist things, which I would never do. I hate racists. Where's the camera? If you're racist, you can go fuck yourself. I don't care if I'm an elected official and this video comes up, because I would be proud to have those words associated with my name. If you are racist, go fuck yourself.
But I still want to see it, and I don't think being a racist is illegal. I think it's immoral, and it's fucking wrong, and it's stupid, but...
You should be ostracized and shamed. You shouldn't be jailed and fined by the state. That is a dangerous power to give the government.
You should open a restaurant and have nobody come in for 2 years and go completely fucking broke.
Well, and this is why people like Tim Moen go around saying that a libertarian society would actually be quite socially conservative, when you consider the fact that nobody is going to be there to bail you out for your constant mistakes or just your egregious, reckless behavior.
That's right. I do have a way out, though, for everybody who doesn't like libertarianism or thinks that there is no government protection for you. If I was ever to become Premier of Ontario, I give you a one-time offer, and you get to pick one of two different paths. You can either take the 5-year plan, where we'll give you $2,000 a month and we'll retrain you. And then when the program's done, I shake your hand and I say goodbye. Mm-hmm. On top of that, I will turn your EI and your CPP into a private deal between you and your employer that gets put into a mutual fund, that instead of begging the government when you lose your job, you walk in with your ROE and say, look, I quit. The guy was a fucking dick. I need a couple grand, and I'm going to go work somewhere else.
Right.
Or I would give you the other option and say, for the next 1 year, you get off your ass and go get a job, and I'll match you dollar for dollar up to $50,000 a year.
Right.
You have 1 year to go do this. I'm not going to retrain you, but I'm going to empower you to find a job and get working again and get off your ass and get working.
I like the second one a lot more.
And but you see that what'll happen is people will go out and they'll do that 1 year, and then they'll come back in 6 months and say, I fucked up. I want to do that year again. Mm. I don't want that. I want you to pick or choose. Either we're going to retrain you for the next 5 years and make you something valuable, or you're already something valuable, but you've been kind of lazy and fucking on the dole, and we'll get you off your ass and we'll get you working. Right. And we'll match you and rebuild you, so that at the end of either of these programs, that's it. You're done. We're not talking to you anymore.
This is within the context of there's nothing else. Pick a plan and try not to be too much of a screw up for the rest of your life.
That's right, because the social safety net will die. And with that, though, then you add a negative income tax. So there's a bad year and you only made $20,000 and the bare minimum is 30. Well, we'll give you a 50% handout on top up on top of that, 50% of what you were less than the minimum payment. Well,
and so this is actually pretty common talk among libertarians, which is funny. I mean, obviously there are those libertarians who would just look at you and be like, but that's a government program. That's not libertarian. But what I actually am finding more and more libertarians coming around to the idea of is we need to reduce the size and cost of government. And that doesn't necessarily mean the only way to do that is to unplug it and put it back in the box. That would
Lighting it on fire and walking away is not appealing.
Well, and specifically because the only thing that happens when that vacuum exists is that another state will fill it, or worse, a state-like actor. Because we often forget as libertarians how good we have it with our version of the nation state over here.
Yes.
Right. So
and when you create a power vacuum, some fuckface is going to come along with a pretty smile and a sharp tongue, and he is going to take that position.
Right.
So let's enshrine the state for what it is, which is just a referee, and let's put that, etch it in stone, and from that, then you can't do that moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
I love direct democracy, and people tell me all the time now, especially libertarians, going, "How the fuck could you promote a direct democracy in Canada? We'd have no guns, and we'd have this, we'd have that." I say, no. You're missing the point. The point is the people should decide these rules as citizens. Mm-hmm. And now, if you empower the Swiss model and you go to direct democracy, you can't write legislation and pass it without the people looking at it and going, "Hey, that's pretty good." And vice versa, the people can't pass legislation without handing it to their legislators and saying, "This is what we want proposed."
Yeah. Direct democracy doesn't literally mean suddenly we have 37 million parliamentarians in Canada.
No. But it means there's a check and a balance against both.
Yes.
The people can't just, say we want to take all the rights away from that minority group there, and vice versa, where the government can't say, well, I want to pander to that minority group right there.
That is what people would accuse you of. They'd say, well, God, Keith, there's only 2.2 million gun owners in Canada. What the other 33 million adults are going to gang up on us, and that's the end of it.
Well, they wouldn't. And the truth of the matter is we know that they wouldn't. And the legislatures wouldn't do it either, because they understand that their riding has enough gun owners in it that it's not going to wash, right? And then one more time, reduce that and put it on the municipality, where you can't pass a federal gun law ban. You can pass it in a municipality. If the city of Toronto said, "I don't want any guns," then they could say that.
Yeah.
And then they could reap what they sow. Because the guy in Sudbury who does have his gun is going to come down to Toronto, and they're going to ask him for his gun at the door, and he's going to say, "Fuck off, I'm not going to shop here. I'm going to go right around the horn and go to Niagara Falls, where they also let me carry guns, because Buffalo is right there and those fuckers have guns. So we have guns."
Well, and this is what matters is that it should be closer to the individual. All the decisions have to be localized. Me and Clayton Wellwood were just talking about this the other day. He released a video
yes,
about this, about clawing back taxation powers from the federal level to the local level, and the regulatory powers from the federal and the province to the local level. And it's important because when you don't have the freedom to go, as you put it, right around the bend, when you're stuck in the country by rules of citizenship, you don't have a say then. You don't get to go, "Okay, I'll just go over here." There are hurdles and barriers in your way. Whereas with a sort of municipal libertarianism, where cities are city-states,
yes,
you don't have to go that far out of your way to find a place with an entirely different regulatory framework. Might be a little inconvenient, but it's not life-changingly inconvenient.
That's right.
Like leaving your country is.
And you literally take the power out of the hands of Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver.
Yeah.
Because they can pass their laws and do what they want in those big cities, but having 33% of the population and having a top-down structure, they dictate all the rules for everyone.
Yep.
And
yeah, exactly.
They have no fucking clue what is going on in Kenora, Ontario, or Prince Rupert, British Columbia, or any of these places.
Because they're isolated in their city. They think of themselves, and I'm not even trying to be that rude to city dwellers, but because they live in a city, they sort of see themselves as at the center of a thing. I'm at the center of society, or I'm at the center of where the structure flows out of. And that's literally not the truth. The fact is that you're not at the center of British Columbia. You're just in the middle of Vancouver. And what Vancouver is like, what the Vancouverites are like, what they want, what they desire, is completely different from the folk in Prince George. They couldn't be more different. They're different. They're different people.
How do you think the Cranbrook people feel when they go to Vancouver? They feel like they left their country.
They felt like they left Alberta.
Yeah, right.
Because you Kootenai Newts are a bunch of Albertans. No two ways about it.
Don't tell them that there, though, because they hate Albertans there.
That's just a joke, Keith. There's nobody in Cranbrook anymore.
That's right. They're down to 14 people. I have them all on my Facebook.
Half the businesses in that city are closed.
They protested. There was like 500 people there.
Wow.
There must have been a food bank close by, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say someone was barbecuing or something, because that's ridiculous. There was in my little hometown of Salmon Arm, British Columbia, about I don't know, maybe 12 white people came out to speak on behalf of the Black community. So that was nice.
That was nice of them, yes.
Yeah, they were very upset about some people they've never met.
Or things that they'd never run into in their life.
Yep. Because it's Salmon Arm and it has a population of 28,000, and of that 28,000, maybe 9 are Black.
Yes.
And
not 9,009. He literally meant 9.
I did mean 9. It's Salmon Arm. Go there and tell me I'm wrong. Go there and tell me I'm wrong. It's a little white town, which there's nothing wrong with that, and there's nothing superior about that. It just is. But the fact is, these people have no idea what they're talking about. They don't know what they're protesting.
You have no fucking clue what outrage is.
Yeah.
Until you've actually been under that boot. We just saw 4 days ago a kid in Whitby, young Black kid in Whitby, Ontario. He got arrested at the skate park. So the cops show up and they start doing their thing. They're being all, show me your ID, do this stuff. And the kid's like, fuck off, man. Like, I'm skating in a park.
Yeah.
Go away.
Yeah.
He knows his rights, right?
Yeah,
well, the cop's like, well, you know what, little Black kid, we're going to show you something. And they threw him on the ground and punched the shit out of him and cuffed him because he wouldn't let them search him. And you got 3 other kids with their cameras on going, what the fuck, dude? What the fuck, dude? Give me your badge number. Female cop says, you're not part of this. This has nothing to do with you. I told you to go sit on the bench.
Wow.
Go sit on the bench. So they get this kid up and they're throwing him in the back of the cruiser. And another kid just kind of walks up out of the blue and goes, what the fuck, dude? And the cop looks at him and says, did you just swear? The kid's like, yeah, I fucking swore.
Is that illegal now?
They arrested him.
They arrested him for swearing.
For swearing, for asking the cop, what the fuck? They took him across the street, cuffed him too.
Wow.
Whitby, Ontario.
What a power trip.
Unreal. When we already are hating on the cops, and of course, you got to pick the fucking Black kid in the park and kneel on the back of his throat.
It's an instinct. It's an instinct with some of these.
Sure.
So this is where we can actually get on side with the protesters, and then we'll talk about the rioters later. The protesters are completely in the right. There is a problem with systemic racism, and I was denying this for years. Now, the systemic part of it does not exist inside of white people, which seems to be the narrative. It exists inside the structures of government.
Yes.
And this is where libertarians have been right 50 years ago, and we're just now trying to figure out how to cooperate on this issue. And so this is the way I'm looking at it. If we can get rid of these skin color words, these race baiting terms, and just talk about police brutality and acknowledge that, sometimes young white kids get gunned down by cops for no reason too, and it isn't about the numbers. Like, we should not be boasting and comparing body counts. Like, that's a thing to be proud of. Or like, oh, well, I think more Black people have died by cops, therefore my outrage is superior. How about we all just be outraged about cops killing innocent citizens for no goddamn reason, and the fact that these police unions shelter these monsters? How about we talk about that instead of talking about white privilege and white fragility and Black Lives Matter? And it's like, we know Black Lives Matter. We're outraged. Stop making it out like white people only protest because we want to get our hair cut. That's actually insulting and racist.
Sure it is. And tell me that Black cops aren't just as racist as white cops are, or Polish cops aren't just as racist as other cops. And
that Black cops are perfectly capable of being brutal to any race. Like, this is not a problem of race. Black cop, Mexican cop, white cop. The fact is, it's the structures of power that
it's a problem of authority. Them. It's a problem of authority.
Well, they exist inside a system where there's no checks on them, as far as I'm concerned. They are running wild out there in the street.
Can't prosecute them. It's no different than the vaccine industry. You can't prosecute them, so they can inject fucking turds in your arm. What the fuck are you going to do about it?
There's some money
you can do. Yeah,
here's some money. Fuck off.
Here's some of your money because it's coming from the government fund. Here's a few of your dollars back. Go fuck off and quiver in the corner for the next 60 years in a fucking wheelchair. We don't care.
So Justin Amash has introduced ending qualified immunity as a piece of legislation. Justin,
Yes.
only sitting libertarian in the United States House of Commons.
Good
Is he a perfect libertarian? Who
No.
gives a shit? Who gives a
Nope.
shit? That's what I say. Who cares?
Drags an L beside his name, talks a good game.
He talks a good game. He's
mostly liberty, votes well.
He does okay. Yep.
Yeah, he votes well.
And again, I haven't found a perfect politician yet. So
no,
let's not compare against utopia. Let's compare against what we've got.
Ron fucking Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Not one time did he vote to grow government in over 30 years in Congress.
Yep.
So if you want to get as close to a perfect politician as you can find, it would be Dr. Paul. And still to this day, he sits back and he talks such a good game.
Exactly. Yeah. And he's still doing it. Yes.
Yeah.
And I'll also go ahead and put my neck on the chopping block for Gary M.F. and Johnson.
Yes.
Who was, I can't believe that this isn't a good story to so many libertarians. Lives in a Democrat-ruled state, gets elected twice in a row as a Republican, vetoes more bills, more spending attempts than the rest of the governors in the country combined over his term.
Yep.
That's a libertarian.
You
purists, you libertarian purists need to just throw yourself off a bridge.
Sure. And I joke about it too, because I'll say, I wonder if he found Aleppo yet. It's underneath his rolling papers.
You know, the thing is when they talked to him the next day, though, he did like a little video. Nobody saw it because it wasn't on national TV, but he just rattles off like nobody's business. I didn't hear what they said. Aleppo, it's in Syria, blah, 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 blah. This is what's going on here. He knew it all. He just didn't understand what, like he just got caught off guard. That's literally what happened to him. He's like,
sure.
Wait, what did you just, like, because he heard one of the many alphabet institutions. You know, what is the ALPO? What is that? I haven't heard of that one. I thought I vetoed that. Right.
But then 3 weeks later, he did an interview and he says, I could talk like this and win.
I said, like I say, he's not perfect.
No, but I love him. And you know what? He tripled the vote and then he tripled the vote again. And he has the most libertarian votes for any guy who ran for president twice, back to back. So as much as I pick on Gary, I was always the guy with, supporting Gary Johnson right from day one. And, I remember you and me having that conversation. You're like, fucking Bill Weld. And I'm like, you know what?
And I have come around on that. Well, I've actually done a couple rotations on that basically because Bill is even less perfect. Let's start there. He's less perfect of a libertarian. But I heard this incredible, and I put the whole thing, it was like 10 minutes long at the beginning of one of my podcasts, this amazing talk he gave. I'm not going to remember the exact when or where because this was like 4 years ago now. And he's talking about how the LP changed him. And that is a fascinating talk. He goes on, and it's like every sentence is libertarian winning. And it's like, where did this Bill Weld come from? I'm here to support Hillary Clinton.
He went back to the Republican Party and tried to steal the nomination from Donald Trump. And I actually believe that 30 or 40 people voted for him in the primaries. So that's not too bad.
He's had better days.
Well, and again, and so he also won a really good lawsuit as a libertarian to get him on the ballot, or not the ballot, to get them in the debate stage.
Yeah, is this the We Are America, or no? What is it? Our America? The Our America initiative. Yeah, that's the lawsuits they were doing against the commission, debate commission.
Yeah, they included the Green Party. They won.
You're welcome, America.
And so he's Bill Weld, and so he has a lot of rich Republican friends, and so he doesn't quite really see libertarianism as a way through. Ron Paul didn't see it either, and he understood it, and he was trying to change from inside the system. And we all have our own way.
Yep.
None of us are right, none of us are wrong. We just have our own way of approaching this. My approach is to try to mimic a lot of what Bernier did to get on the debate stage when he did, and that's to have a sitting candidate in provincial parliament.
Yes.
And lately, and I hope you're listening, Randy, is Randy Hillier, who has been espousing a lot of very big libertarian moves. He was part of the Conservative caucus in 2018. They drummed him out of the party because he was a little too free-spirited and spoke his own mind. So he's now an independent running in Kingston, Frontenac.
Where have I heard this story before? Oh, that's right. Every libertarian ever.
Sounds about right.
Familiar, yeah.
And he's actually one of the members of the Libertarian Party going back 15 years, the OLP. So he has history with us, and I've seen a lot of his Twitter posts and a lot of his stuff. He's really against these lockdowns. I think it's an opportunity because as an independent, he's not allowed to have a constituency association or raise any money up until the writ is dropped.
What?
That's countrywide, Kyle. This is something I found out. If you are an independent candidate, you are not allowed to start collecting money until the writ drops for your campaign. You can go ask and get people lined up to give you the money, but not one donation can come in until the writ drops. So all of a sudden, the writ drops, you maybe collect $30,000 from your friends, and you try to run a campaign against these guys who've been raising money for 4 fucking years and have a constituency association with hundreds of thousands of dollars in it. You can't compete.
Yeah, but it's a fair electoral system.
Of course it is.
Everyone's got a shot.
Yeah, big guy. Come on out.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I wonder what the justification is for those restrictions.
Even as a sitting member.
Yeah, that's insane.
He's a fucking sitting member and he can't raise funds.
Something about that seems wrong. I'd be curious to understand why such a rule was brought into place, if there's some worry about
it was brought into place because one day the conservatives and liberals were sitting at a desk and going, you know what, these fucking guys are starting to squirrel a little bit and the tires are coming off the car. We need to stop independents from being able to access the ballot properly and be able to restrain them so that they can't beat us. And even if I lose to you, at least I get to sit on the other side of the house and scream at you and tell you why I should be elected next time. And we keep the conversation between us two. Yeah. And we keep the people out.
It sounds like a conspiracy until you realize it's the truth.
That's right.
Until you realize that the system is I hate using that term, the system, but really it's a stacked deck.
Sure,
and we look at British Columbia in particular. I couldn't believe the audacity, the gall that the parties had to introduce legislation to pay themselves with taxpayer money for each vote that they got. There could not be a more pro-establishment policy.
Especially when you set the bar somewhere. Anywhere above zero.
And it is. You have to have members sitting in parliament. So the Green Party's getting a little bit of money, and that's terrifying in its own right. But what the NDP and the Liberals have decided to do is they're going to use regulation first to massively restrict how individuals can donate to parties. British Columbia has a regulatory framework. First of all, people talk about corporate money all the time. There is no corporate money in British Columbia. That got outlawed years ago. Your corporations are not allowed to donate to political parties here. Individuals have to do it, and they're restrained to whatever it is, $1,400 a year.
We're $16.25 in Ontario. You should read my post on Facebook on March 16th. I think it was. It was the day before we implemented the emergency measures in Ontario.
Yeah.
He was talking. He says, tomorrow we're going to pass this legislation. And I said, well, sounds all great and fine, but how long are we going to stay on lockdown? Are we going to stay on lockdown for 1 month, 3 months? 6 months? This isn't going to be a 2-week thing. Mm-hmm. And then I said, what about when the supply chain breaks?
Yep.
Everybody's like, oh, Keith, you're full of shit. There's lots of food in the grocery store. and here we are 3 months fucking later. Nobody wants to go to work at the meat packing plant because they're only making $2,600 a month after taxes anyways. And they're getting $2,000 from CERB. So why the fuck would I go stand in a meat packing plant and smell shitty dead cows and blood all day long when I can sit at home and play goddamn well Nintendo and not worry about it? Thank you for my government check.
Yep.
Oh, all of a sudden we're slaughtering fucking cows and chickens because no one's working in these plants. And it's not because COVID's run through them. It ran through a few of them and whatever, that we get over that real quick. It's that people don't want to get off their ass anymore because they no longer have to.
Yep.
And this is the biggest unintended consequence of communism is eventually nobody does the job.
They pretend to pay us and we pretend to work.
That's exactly how it goes.
They send you a check with $2,000 worthless dollars that you can only spend inside of Canada because nobody else wants that.
Nobody wants our money.
Nobody wants it now. Never mind when we institute, when we institute a basic income and half the country stops being productive. And we'll get the exact same earful about, well, you're full of shit. You're crazy. That's never going to happen. And then we're going to watch it happen and go, I told you so. And they're going to go, shut up, you.
Actually, no, I'm living in a pile of shit right alongside of you, and I tried to get you to not fill the fucking
It's
pool
just
with
I
shit.
happened to look and see it coming, and I was like,
There's a big dump truck backing up into the pool with shit.
Do not hear that beeping. And here it comes.
Yeah, and here comes the shit. Thank you very much. Now I'm covered too. But from all of it, though, Kyle, is the great thing is people are waking up to liberty, and they didn't realize. They didn't.
Well,
realize
and maybe they had to be forced. Maybe they had to be forced. You know, they kind of have to have their, you know, to use our analogy, they had to have their face shoved in the shit by a government agent before they really realize, hey, maybe I don't want you making a bunch of decisions for me. I think
maybe
we're seeing
you're not
that
the smartest kid on the block. Maybe.
And we just start to realize, like, oh, these police aren't special. They're just human. These politicians are not special. They're just humans. And when you realize that, and then you realize the enormous amount of power you are giving to just other humans,
yes,
it sort of snaps you out of things. This is why people, again, I hate these kind of cliche terms, but this is kind of why people talk about waking up, is it's like a slap in the face when you really see it for what it is, you know? And then to come back around from that to a pragmatic position is probably one of the hardest things to do. Like, I have nothing but understanding for all the crazy libertarians out there who just want to burn the government down because they've been slapped in the face and they saw it.
I want to hug them. I want to hug them because I want to get there too, but it's a 60-year plan.
Exactly. We're making 5-yard passes here. We're making plays down the line. We're not going to shut the government down. If we won a majority, we wouldn't shut the government down. These mechanisms and these institutions are more deeply embedded than, oh, I just wrote a law. I'll just pass a bill.
Yeah.
No.
It doesn't happen that way.
It does not work that way.
But you can slowly give people a taste of their freedoms again. And one by one, watch communities thrive.
Mm-hmm.
And when they get a taste of that type of wealth, when they realize that, when they finally realize how much wealth has been stolen from them, and you put it back in their hands, even for, you know, just a little while, they're going to want more of it.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about that wealth, is it sort of works both ways. If the government's giving you a check, you're going to fall that way. But if you have access to the full value of the wealth you're able to create by yourself, if you actually had that, it would be just as addictive. You just don't know you're missing it.
That's right.
You don't know
you're missing it. There were too many generations out from having it.
42% of our income is consumed by various levels of taxes in BC.
That's an average, right?
I get that. It is an average. So some people are paying way more. Some people are paying way less. I just think that average is still staggeringly high. We will just nonchalantly say 40% of our income, like that's sane.
Like that's cool.
Yeah, like there's anything about that was rational, right? Like everyone should be paying way less than that. And it's not a matter of not having the services. It's that the government sucks at providing them. And we need to wake up to that realization. Policing, they're shitty at it. Healthcare, they suck at it. EI, they suck at it.
Horribly.
They suck at everything they try to do. And yet all we can think to do is like, well, maybe if we give them more money, and they just put it in their pockets.
Maybe if I vote harder.
I mean, if I vote harder.
I'm going to push my pencil so fucking hard on the ballot this time, it's going to break.
I said Democrat.
That's right.
This doesn't feel like Democrat.
No, it's
there's so many homeless people here.
Can you imagine living in the United States right now and realizing that the Democratic Party's best fucking thing to offer you is sleepy Joe Biden?
Oh my God. Every single time I lay eyes on him, I actually... Again, it's that slap in the face feeling. You go, this guy's not real. He can't be real. And yet he is.
Dude is a child sniffer.
He's a super big child sniffer.
Yeah. And fuck that. And to think that Donald Trump is so bad that you're going to elect this fucking guy. You already tried with Hillary.
Creepy,
and now and I thought there's no way you could pick anybody even shittier than Hillary Clinton. And yet, hold my fucking beer.
Yeah, exactly. Hillary Clinton here. Hold my bag of murders.
Yeah,
I got something to show you.
I got one more on you. I got the billionaire from the Ukraine.
The billionaire racist who screwed up the police force in the first place and made everything about policing that we hate the way it is.
If you haven't figured out who to vote for... You ain't black.
You ain't black. I could not, but I actually, and I tell you, Keith, honestly, I've never done this before. My jaw dropped open. I sat there and went,
what the fuck?
And then I rewinded it And my mouth dropped open again as I heard it a second time. If you can't figure out if you're for or against me or whatever it was, or if you're for Trump or me, I think it was, you ain't black. And Charlemagne, credit to Charlemagne for just letting that stew for a second. Instead, I do love what he did say, which was something along the lines of, well, we'll have to have you back because still a lot of questions. You know, like
just a couple of questions like, what state are you from? Are you from the South?
Yeah, are you from Tennessee?
I smell slavery on you.
Are you from Tennessee 200 years ago? Like, what is happening right now?
Unbelievable.
Well,
and so what do you do then? And then you got Joe Jorgensen, who's absolutely fantastic. And Spike Cohen for comic relief. The guy is just hilarious.
And once again, okay, where's my camera again? I'd like to apologize for anything unkind I may have said about Spike Cohen in the past. You sold me. I get it. Okay. Right.
Him and Vermin Supreme were going to take the comedy show on the road, right?
I can't stand Vermin Supreme. I'm not there yet.
And I know why you can't. It's the fucking boot, right?
It's the boot and then his followers about the boot.
Yes.
I don't like Vermin's rabid followers. I didn't like them in the 3-day digital convention, which, by the way, the Libertarian Party of the United States just had the first ever online political convention, period, end of sentence.
Yes.
The entire chat room was just flooded with, this is rigged against Vermin Supreme, this is rigged against Vermin. No, it's that Vermin's a circus act and nobody's actually going to vote for him when it comes time to put pencil to paper.
Listen, if Justin Amash had stayed in the race and had won, I might have had a problem, and I would have kind of been angry at the Shiny Bobble Caucus because you already did it once. You put Bill Weld in there. You could have had Larry Sharp, who would have been a way better VP choice.
And will Larry ever get his time to do what he does so well? Because I mean, that man should be the governor of New York right now.
He should be, and he won't get that choice or that chance, and it's unfortunate, but it is what it is, right? And that's how that goes in this world. And maybe Larry's just a little too docile with the microphone. I think he's really well spoken, but I think he's a little docile.
He's almost too nice about it.
Yeah. And I think that you need a little bit of a fuck you when you stand on that stage.
You're not wrong, but he's just such an erudite figure that it's a very disappointing, that he is so knowledgeable and would actually be such a great statesman.
I agree 1,000%.
A great shepherd of the state of New York, and instead they got Cuomo or whatever that. Cuomo, which, well, whatever. I don't even need to explain how that's going. Joe Jorgensen is really impressing me. Didn't really know much about her before.
The fact that she ran in '96 as the VP, we need to know our own history a little better. I think because I was like, really, wow, look at that.
Well, I mean, I was the same way in 2016. It was like, wait, Gary Johnson ran before? When did this happen? So we're always learning about our own legacy,
Yes.
There's so much.
I would have loved to have seen a Ron Paul, Gary Johnson ticket in 2012.
That would have been
for
crazy.
the Libertarian Party. I think they would have got like 12 or 13%.
Yeah,
there was a lot of Republicans who were on board in 2012 for Ron Paul. And when they axed him like the Dems did Bernie, there was pushback, and that's why Mitt Romney couldn't get a vote even in fucking Utah. No one was voting.
My God,
I wanted Ron Paul.
Yeah, exactly. No, all the other choices on stage were like the same. I mean, it's like Ted Cruz and then different versions of Ted Cruz. Which whatever. Ted Cruz is a fine gentleman. You know what I mean?
And Newt Gingrich.
And then there's Newt Gingrich. But
I was the leader of the House.
He was never going to win.
I'm going to make gas $2.50 a gallon. Ron Paul, so it's already 10 cents, you fuckhead.
What are you talking about? Yeah.
What money is. Shut up.
But he didn't win.
That was my defining moment of becoming a libertarian, is when Ron Paul held up the dime and said, I pay 10 cents for gas. The silver dime has enough weight in it to buy a gallon of gas. It's not the price of gas. Your money is flawed. And he put it on his desk.
It's funny. Sometimes that message will sway someone, and sometimes that message will, like we need different messages for different people. But I can totally see how that would have swayed you in particular.
Me, right off the bat, I was just like, yes.
Jaw drops.
Money is fucked.
What did he just say? Make him say that again. That was awesome.
Yeah,
what?
That's right. I followed that whole. cycle. And then they're doing interviews with Mitt Romney, and they're panning over the 16 people in the crowd and making it look like there's thousands of people there. And then Ron Paul has like 9,000 people there, and they're shooting it from like the corners, so you only see 6 or 7 of the people there.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, calm the fuck off.
Which is especially a shame because Ron Paul was very surprised by those people being there in such numbers. I mean, he was surprised by his own success.
Sure. Well, and that was when the Occupy movement was heavy, and people were done with Wall Street, 2008, 2009. When that hit the Americans hard. Yeah. Right. And so then you got Obama, who talks about how, I'm good to my people, and I was such a statesman. You fucking pepper sprayed people down at Standing Rock. Yep. You've done nothing for the people.
There's a great video online. Just type in YouTube Obama, the worst president ever, and go ahead and watch that video. It'll be the first or second one. It's a shot of the back of Obama's head. Watch that video, everyone listening.
I will.
Because he just lays it out. I mean, he has a terrible track record, especially on war. Jesus, so many people died under Obama's administration. It's actually like,
he's the one who brought in drones.
It's heartbreaking. Well, and I mean, look at Gaddafi. And now there's slave trade, so that's cool.
What I want people to understand with that whole issue is for 42 years, Gaddafi was a terrorist. He brought down the flight in Lockerbie. He's been a shitty statesman for 40 years, according to our press. But why all of a sudden did they kill him? Why all of a sudden did he become a threat to the point where they needed to come in and take him out? Currency. He was going to start an African dinar.
Dinar.
Backed by gold.
Yes.
And fuck the IMF.
Right.
And that echoed in the halls of the power elite. Fuck the IMF. Fuck the IMF. Fuck the IMF. and they all stood back and went, JFK? I mean, yeah. Well, let's do it in broad daylight.
It was just as gross as what happened to Saddam. Not that I am defending the character of Saddam, but the way he was actually executed was
horribly
brutal.
Shitty people. Both
Mob
of them were
lynching.
Shitty. Both of them horribly shitty people. But the point is, you installed him in Iraq because you needed a terribly shitty person to go after Iran, and the only way you could see beating Iran was with chemical weapons, and you need a special kind of fucking human who's willing to launch those. Hi, Saddam. You're willing to use those? Okay. And then when Saddam realized, you know what, there's way more money here and I'm not getting my fucking cut, I'm going to switch to the euro.
Yeah.
No, you're going to use the fucking petrodollar.
And again, this is one of those interesting things where it sounds like a conspiracy theory until you realize it's true, because it's a repeating pattern. I mean, Christ, most people haven't even heard Confessions of an Economic Hitman. They don't know. They don't know.
They don't know that in the 50s we went through South America with briefcases full of money to buy off leaders, and then came back 3 years later for the interest. And then just took over their water and their sewers.
And yet people will be perfectly offended when China does it, as they should. But then they don't even know that America has been doing it for like a century.
That's my slave. Why are you persecuting those poor Africans? Those are our slaves.
Right.
How heavy-handed do we have to sit, and how blind to the reality of the world do you have to be to pretend like we're these special fucking people on the planet? Canada and the United States have been so good for so long. Listen, we backed the fascists in World War II.
Yes, we did.
We were all on Germany's side. They were the bulwark against communism that we didn't want to see here.
Yep.
And the only reason that we turned on them was because Hitler was going to take it all.
Well, he went and took some crazy juice or something, and I mean,
we didn't go in to free the Jews. I promise you that that wasn't why we went in there.
Yeah, no,
we went in there because he was going to take over the world.
A lot of people have a very romanticized idea about why we went in there. It was a fucking war, right? And like, I find myself having to defend this though. Well, okay, so because I am an apologist in a sense for World War II, I do think that the Nazis had to go.
Yep.
And I really mean that. And I say that as a libertarian who really, I'm not a fan of war, period.
No.
I'm not a fan of conflict, especially when governments are running the show. Because that's
we didn't get rid of the Nazis here at home.
Well,
and that's the problem.
We
And
barely got rid of them, period. We barely got rid of, you know.
We brought them here is what
we executed a couple famous ones and then brought all their scientists and friends over here to live in America. And then we're all confused about why people in the South have these Nazi flags in their fucking garages. Well, where did they get those? It's like, we imported them, like, in the 40s. You remember that?
The Nazis didn't lose World War II. They just changed locations.
Yeah, just changed branding.
Yeah. Their addresses changed and they became Americans. And Americans were all down with the fascist states.
Well, and so this really speaks now to a bit of the narrative that's coming out, because communism's super hot right now, right? And the through line for Antifa and the anti-fascists to justify their behavior and existence is precisely that moment in history. The communists in Germany were extraordinarily violent towards the Nazis, and good, fuck them both, right? But the problem is that they went, well, we stood up against the Nazis, and therefore our ideology is right, or our ideology has some sort of noble roots. And the fact is that the West was rejecting both of those ideologies. We don't like National Socialism. We don't like racist, tribalist nationalism. And no, we don't like communism.
No. And MacArthur stood on the border of Russia and said, keep going. We're not done.
We're not anywhere close.
We're not even close to finishing this.
Do you guys have any idea how big Russia is? And then there's China.
Yeah. And we got a lot of sea to cover to get to them the other way. So why not just march our tanks
Let's
across
just go
the land?
straight through Russia.
It's July. We've got a couple of months
It's nice
before we hit the cold in the marsh.
That's right.
We've already burned the crops once. We don't think that they can burn them again. Let's go. Let's do this. So there's fallacy all the way through that, and a blind eye to the history. And the next blind eye is the fact that George Bush's dad, Prescott, was part of the Union Bank, which funded Hitler.
Yep.
And
that's, again, you don't need to go into the less substantiated things, let's say. That's on paper. That happened.
Yeah. And the bank was shut down by what the hell was his name too? The head of the FBI back then, Hoover.
Yeah, that's right.
He shut down the Union Bank and said it's a Nazi bank. And Prescott stood up and said, it's my bank. And Hoover said, yeah, you're a fucking Nazi. We know this, Prescott.
Exactly. Yeah.
But we're going to brush it under the carpet, because right at that same moment, he started to say, well, let's just march 500,000 more veterans and kill FDR and take over the government and start our own fascist coup. And FDR said, listen, if you just back down and let me stay president, I'll make you a senator or something like that. And you can carry on. And, you know, they'll coalesce with the Nazis and let them.
And see, I'm not a big fan of historical whataboutism, like, you know, this idea of like, well, it was wrong for us to have intervened and the Nazi problem would have solved itself, or the Nazis were a bulwark against communism and that was actually a good, these kinds of things. I just think there's little value in asking the question. Like, history already happened. It already happened. What we can do now is break down the facts of what occurred. And we can decide, well, maybe we shouldn't have done that. Maybe we should do this. But the conversation often evolves into this sort of libertarian fantasy about no, the world would be this way and that way and this way.
The world is where it is today, and we don't have the time machine to change that.
And
but
you
what we
really
can do is learn from
know.
those lessons. We could learn from those lessons, though, and set up a better system for us all. Look at the Swiss. The Swiss have gone through 2 world wars without firing a fucking shot. They've funded both sides, because who the fuck cares? You want to borrow money? I got lots of gold in the bank. You guys want to shoot each other?
The Swiss are good at that.
This makes more resources for us. Keep going. Here's another half $500 million. Shoot some Germans. You shoot some fucking Russians, and we'll sit back and we'll watch you guys do this. And we'll profit from it. That's fine. I don't see anything wrong with that. And look at them now. No one even talks about ever invading the Swiss. They're surrounded by mountains on 4 sides. I'm sure they've got some type of fucking frickin' laser beams in the mountains that they're going to take them out with. So you're not taking out Switzerland, and they're fine, and they have a direct democracy. And
aren't they also like mandatory gun ownership? Isn't that?
They just repealed that.
They repealed that. I mean,
just in the last couple of years, you don't have to own one, but you should.
As a libertarian, mandatory anything is wrong. as a disgusting Western chauvinist, I love the idea of mandatory gun ownership.
Me too. Just for a generation or two. Just for a generation or two.
Just for a generation or two. Yeah.
Get them used to it. Get them comfortable with those weapons.
Let's repeal that order in council. Let's get rid of that gun ban. And then let's also go, actually, speaking of this list of 1,500 firearms, given that it's clear none of you know a damn thing about any one of these rifles, I think it's about time we start a program of widespread education and responsible gun ownership in Canada.
That's right.
Let's get
guns
in the hands of about 15 million more Canadians.
And if we fix the economic problem, mental health would disappear. The problems that we have with that would disappear.
Yep.
And people wouldn't be so apt to just snap and shoot the fuck out of somebody.
Even then, yes, you are right. There's a real mental health crisis that we need to address. And many of these public shooters are a consequence of that. But also we can point to so many stories, incalculable numbers of stories in recent years, let's say the past 20 years, where someone has gone out to Costco.
Shooter showed up with 500 bits of ammo, only killed two because
someone went,
72-year-old war veteran who had a concealed carry and
who heard the gunfire and was suddenly in Vietnam again. Like, what the fuck?
Had a dead eye and from half a mile away pulled out his handpiece and said, "Fuck you," and cracked him. Drained him. And that's something to be said, right? Is if you can defend yourself, you don't see people breaking into houses in San Antonio, Texas, because the minute you put your foot on someone's property, they have the right to shoot you. If you don't have proper
We just watched this. We just watched this happen just now when the looting and the rioting. We said we were going to get to that anyways. So let's talk about that because in every single place, and now it's documented on social media, people are boasting about it. It's provable facts. Where people brought their guns out, there was either no looting or very, very little looting.
Yep.
Right. Because you see a gun and you think, play stupid game, win stupid prize. Maybe I won't. In all those horrible Democrat-controlled, gun-free, safe zones. Well, go ahead and look.
Detroit, New York.
Just go ahead and look at them right now. Go ahead and look at them. Go ahead and look at all the boarded-up windows. I don't even need to.
They literally look like Syria right now.
I don't need to explain it even. Just go look. Open your damn eyes and look. All the Democrat-controlled states and cities right now are literally in ruins because the people there do not respect the rule of law and nobody there's got guns or property rights. And so 2 + 2 = 4.
And here we are.
Yeah.
And if that isn't enough of a lesson for you to understand that you have to be responsible for you and that there is no government agency out there capable of looking after you, and there is no government agency that is going to respond quick enough to save your life in a moment of crisis, I don't know what is.
Yep.
That's another part of what I said back in March 16th when they started these lockdowns. Is like, you are all going to realize in a real fucking hurry, and it's going to be a hard lesson, that everything that the government does from here forward is going to make things worse.
Yep.
And the only person you can literally rely on is your neighbor and your friends.
Yes.
So when you're out of food, make sure you've grouped up with your buddies and that you can take care of yourselves. Find someone with a garden, find someone with a rifle. And
we are going to learn those lessons the hard way too, because Canada has developed a nasty, antisocial character, a I know better and I don't really need anyone else mentality.
Yeah. I've got my mommy.
Well, and
Justin,
I've known everything I need to know about the world since I was 18, and I read some Nietzsche and misunderstood the shit out of it.
Yeah. And Noam Chomsky was my hero.
Yeah, right.
You know, Noam is great when he talks about the one-party system. What he's not great about is when he tries to implement his own one-party system.
I was gonna say literally anything else he says. Because he's right about the corruption, but then his solution is like, so why don't we ramp up the corruption to like unbelievable?
Well, why don't we just stop pretending that there's only one party and introduce one party and make it a communist party and everybody just work together.
Yeah, like China, everyone just work together.
Yeah.
And if you speak out, we will disappear your ass into a bag.
What do you think of the contact tracing that's coming out?
Oh, it is. Is that coming out? That's weird. I won't be getting it. That's what I think.
I've just caved in to get the smartphone because I'm the leader of the party, and you want to do twits and
You gotta
tweets and
have it.
twats and fucking Instagram and all that shit.
Oh yeah.
So I just caved in and got one, and I'm ready to throw it out because
middle-aged bricklayer. I can just see you like, are you serious? I have to post to Instagram.
I do, and it's just like, come on.
Yeah, but it's the game. I hate it too. I hate Twitter so much. It's the worst.
I barely touch Twitter at all. Like I tip my toes in, and then I'm like, yeah, this is stupid. And Facebook is 10 times worse. Talk about a cesspool of opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But it's something that I'm comfortable with, and I've been on long enough that I don't feel like I'm a foreigner stepping in there. I can stand my ground and flex, and I'm going to be a keyboard warrior today too.
Yeah, no, this is what I believe. Yeah. Yeah.
But
and we're trying to elevate ourselves to another level here, but at the same time, it's tough because the population isn't going to necessarily meet you at that level. Like libertarians have this idea of like, we're going to become like the most clean cut professional libertarians ever. And that's fine to have as an ideal, but don't make it your ideal for tomorrow. Don't make it if we don't do that, we've failed. It's like, look, you got to meet people where they're at. Most people are not carefully choosing their words.
That's right.
Most people do not wear suits day in and day out. So if you want to meet people where they're at and empathize with them and have them look at you like a person,
show up at the protest.
I really ought to go. I've been staying away from the protests primarily because I know that I'll get in a fist fight with an Antifa member. So
I was waiting. Oh my God. So the first 6 weeks that we went to the protest, Antifa didn't show up, and we were protesting there.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally watched 3 Antifa come up and scope out the park with their bandanas on their face.
Yep.
And the collective age of all 3 of them together might have been 63, 64 total, all 3 of them added together. And I couldn't see their lips moving, but I could read the fear in their eyes. And it was like, we better not show up here because there's a lot of fucking big dudes here who don't look like they're very fun to deal with on a level where I throw a brick at that guy and it's going to hit him in the head and he's going to fucking smile at me with one tooth missing out of his face. And he's going to go, you're going to need a bigger fucking toy than that, son. And I'm going to walk slowly over there while he shits his pants and I'm going to drag him across the street to the cop.
Right.
Here, you beat on this one. You beat on so many.
Yeah, here's someone you can actually beat on because he just threw a brick at my head.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I think they scoped us out and they went, I don't know.
That was another defense tactic apart from bearing arms, which is what that damn phrase actually means, to simply present them in public, right? So the people were bearing arms. Antifa doesn't break anything. And the exact same thing was happening, not just with guns, but wherever Antifa was making like real threats, like, oh no, you guys better not even show up here because if you don't kneel down and kiss the black boot, you're done. And so Hell's Angels will go to those ones and just stand there looking like Hell's Angels, and nobody gets hurt and nobody breaks anything.
And everybody just do your thing and protest peacefully, or we're gonna fuck your shit up.
And that right there is the toxic masculinity that feminists are trying to destroy. It keeps society whole in times of chaos. In times of chaos, you need strong men to go, no, child, you're not throwing that brick through a window.
A buddy of mine made a big post about that. And it was a comment like this long conversation about how the male figure is missing from the household. And how all of these kids that do these mass shootings and all of these fucking problems, you look, they come from single families with no father figure.
Single mother, no father, or abusive father in prison.
That's right.
Yeah.
Or even dad worked 65 hours a week to provide all the money and no time and didn't raise my kid. Yep. Right. And my comment on it was, this is so sad, but it's also so true. Men out there, please do society a favor. Step up and be a fucking parent.
Oh God!
Be a dad.
Well, and I turn the masculinity around on them and ask them, like, do you think there's anything about running away from your child that doesn't make you a coward?
Right.
That doesn't make you a bitch? Stand there and raise that boy so he doesn't kill himself or kill a bunch
bunch of people along the way.
Exactly.
Right? I just got my daughter back. And you know the history with that, right? So.
Sorry to get all emotional on camera here, but I did not know that till this moment.
Yes. So Courtney did the same thing she did with Quentin. Halfway through grade 10, she kicked Taylor out.
Mm-hmm.
You've reached that age where I can no longer deal with you. So you go live with your dad.
Mm-hmm.
And I expected to have the same problems with her as I did with Quentin. But remarkably, no. Taylor got here February 21st, and we enrolled her back in school. She's like, I know I'm missing credits, but I'll earn them through school. You don't have to homeschool me. I'll do them there. They had a program set up. COVID kind of screwed that up, but she's got her credits for this semester, and she's on track to graduating with her class. That's the second child I've had to do that with. I got him behind. We're going to get him back on track and get her going.
Now, this is a real man. No, I'm not going to let you just skate past that. This is a real father right here. All right, don't cry, Keith. This is a guy who has taken 2 kids now who have been flunking out of high school and turned their asses around properly. Yeah. You're a good man, Keith.
Thank you. And it is emotional for me because I care.
No,
and
I know you love those kids, and they've been there's all sorts of drama we don't need to get into.
That's right. And at the end of the day, a real man, a real masculine man has to have that side of softness, but he's also had to peer into the fucking depths of his own darkness.
Yeah.
Jordan Peterson says it very well. To be able to control the beast, you have to face it.
Yep.
You have to have been at that point where I literally could have pulled someone's fucking face off in life and gone that other road.
Mm-hmm.
You have to stare at the cliff, at the abyss.
Yeah, like he says, you have to know the absolute depths of what you're capable of, and you need to look at that and go, okay, that's part of me too.
That is. And you have to make a conscious choice to not go there.
High road or low road. And it's 100% on you. As another good figure, Jocko Willings says.
Yes.
Extreme ownership. It's all your fault. What are you going to do about it?
That's right. And you can blame your dad and your mom all your life, and you can live in your fucking wallow.
Yeah.
Or you can realize at any point on this timeline, all of these decisions that I made were my own.
Mm-hmm.
And regardless of my upbringing, I still made those choices.
Yeah.
And own that and improve upon that and become a better person for that.
Yes.
Right. And there's no time limit on it. You can be 30, you can be 21, you can be 55, you can be on your deathbed and fucking realize it. But eventually there's going to come a time in your life when you realize that all of your mistakes are your own. You did them, you committed them, and ignorance is not an escape.
Yeah. It's no excuse to continue.
That's right.
Especially because you're not ignorant. Peterson would be quick to say that. You know perfectly well, if you're honest with yourself for a total of 4 seconds, exactly what you're doing wrong every day, and you can change it right there. You can do it anytime. Yeah, anytime you want, and it's on you. And this is a libertarian message, just to tie a neat bow on it. I mean, this is actually part of our philosophy. It's not, we don't just say responsibility as like a catchphrase. We mean the whole thing, the responsibility, the weight of it, and the freedom that comes from it. It's one package. You don't get freedom without responsibility.
Or accountability.
And accountability, exactly. You have to be held accountable for it. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And the more you foist that stuff on your family, your friends, your government,
the less free you are.
The less free you are. There it is. The less in control of your destiny you are. And it's a choice you are making. And that's the toughest pill for me to swallow, because I was like mad for months trying to eat that idea. Like, well, I'm not responsible for the way the government is. Go fuck yourself. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Could have cleaned up my act a decade ago and got into politics. Yep. Right? So it's always on us.
That's right.
And so it's on us every day. Are you going to call that lapsed member, get that membership back? No, you gonna play Xbox again? Okay. Yep. And I've been there, right? Because you have to look at yourself at the lowest to go, well, that's not who I want to be for the next 25 fucking years.
I poured so much effort into 2017 for the party and for myself, and we made great strides in BC. Absolutely. But the day after that election, my tank was empty. And it took me like 9 months to fully recover.
Oh my God. This is a whole thing in libertarianism, is actually learning to manage like post-electoral depression.
Yes.
And to understand that like your party can splinter and break apart because of high emotions and exhaustion afterwards. If you don't understand, like you have to tell everyone, good work, take a break. I'm not going to talk to you about politics for 3 months. And
we
had that
your
problem.
Hat up and go to sleep. Yeah.
And we had that problem, right? It was like 2 weeks after the election. Everyone's like, okay, let's do a postmortem on the election. Let's keep things going. It's like everyone is so burnt. Everyone just went on stage for the first time ever in front of 1,000 of their fellow townsmen and gave shit to an elected member. And they're mentally done.
Exhausted.
They've been on the receiving end of hate and rumors and abuse.
I stood on stage at 420 after smoking 7,000 dabs with some of the top weed producers in British Columbia and gave a speech to over 6,000 people without anything written down.
You know, just because we're recording, I actually want to briefly recount this because this is my experience of this. Is Keith is gone for hours, and I'm just assuming, oh, he's with the all-stars of weed. He's backstage doing what Keith does. And I'm walking around. I'm nowhere near the stage. And then just all of a sudden, your voice comes blasting out of the speakers everywhere. And you're giving it to them. A hard libertarian message. Why do you want to give this weed to the government? They're just going to screw it up. Like, way ahead of your time, like seeing it coming, and massive cheers. I think party members went running up to hug you afterwards.
That was a good one. I came off stage and I walked out from behind the fence and Clayton grabbed onto me like I was his wife and he hadn't seen me in 5 years. Like I was on a tour of duty.
Well, it was amazing, right? Because it takes some balls to get up there and expose yourself to 50,000 people and their possible ridicule. Right?
That's right.
Yeah.
And you know, I've done it twice now. I honestly believe I'm the only politician who's spoken on stage at 420. I would say that Emery's ex-wife Jody, she's done it, but she's not really a politician. She's more just an activist. She's running a few elections, but
yeah, I actually saw Jody very recently, a couple months ago. Stopped by CC headquarters, and she was in her office, and we had a brief talk, and she made it abundantly clear she's totally a libertarian and she's totally done with politics forever. She wants none of the noise, and I totally get it.
I hear you, but don't give me your noise. Give me your money, Jody.
No, right?
Donate to the fucking party.
Well,
Jody,
actually, I want to be fair because Mark has. Mark is a good donor of ours.
So you saw his live feed the other day and you typed Keith Komar to tag me in the video.
Yes, I did. Was he nearby?
I was holding the fucking phone. I was the one recording that, Kyle.
That figures.
Of course it is. Mark Emery's at a protest against the lockdowns. Of
Who's
course
filming that? It's Keith Komar.
Komar, the leader of the Ontario Libertarian Party. And we're talking to Mark. And I'm like, Mark, I know you guys, he used to be part of the OLP. He splintered off into the Freedom Party. There was issues with how they were raising money, which now you're stupid because now you don't raise any money and they know how to raise money. Why didn't you just come to an agreement? Like
Well, yeah. These are all our frustrations.
And I look at Mark and I go, time to come back and join. And you know what he says? He goes, that is so much work, Keith. And then he sighs. He goes, yeah, well, I ran 10 candidates last time. He's like, BC's different. It's only 87. He's like, you got 124 candidates here. And he's like, and then I'm moving to BC for about 6 months. But it's like, okay, talk to me end of 2020. I'll be back in Ontario around November, right?
Yeah.
So he's a moth to the flame like we all are. But again, there's another person that if I hadn't have done what I did in BC, I wouldn't have that contact. I couldn't just see him on the street and go, hey, Mark.
Yeah, and Mark Emery is one of those guys, too, who he really takes a lot of flack because, and I've spoken about this on other podcasts, the cannabis community is innocently hard left. I don't think it's their fault. I don't think they know another way necessarily. And it's coming from a good place. It's like an idea of like, well, we disenfranchised people can stick together and make things work for each other. And it's nice, but they literally are anarcho-capitalists and they don't understand it. But they don't realize it. They think they're all like soft communists, like loving hippie communists. And it's like,
we work together at a community level and we can do this. And I'm like, yeah, it's exactly what I'm fucking espousing as a libertarian.
That is anarchy capitalism.
Take all this big government away, put it back in your hands. You grow weed, he grows potatoes. The two of you make a mutual fucking agreement. You trade them and there's no government involved and no tax.
Don't need them.
The lady's like, that's utopia. And I'm like, that's libertarianism. That is not communism.
Libertopia.
You want to know what communism is? One edict at the top that says those potatoes are worth $5 a pound says the pot is only worth $3 a pound.
Yeah.
And if you two don't sell it to me at that cost, I will throw you in jail. And if I see you trading potatoes for fucking cannabis, you're all going to jail.
Go to the gulag.
That is communism.
That's communism.
And also we're going to take 40% of that crop right off the top because the state needs its wheat and its potatoes.
Yeah, of course.
That's what you're espousing when you say communism.
Yeah.
And when you're talking this hippy dippy shit about voluntary trade and no government involved and we can just do this together, it's anarcho-capitalism.
Yeah,
And
you're actually a capitalist.
You don't understand it.
Well, because they think capitalism only means big capital. It's like, well, you have little capital, so it's not capital.
The word has been pushed by communists onto what fascism is.
Yes.
And so what we live in today is fascist. This has nothing to do with capitalism. This is a fascist state. Yeah. Fascism has nothing to do with racism. Fascism has nothing to do with any of those other things that you've attached it to. Fascism isn't why they burned Jews. That is not what fascism is. Fascism is corporate control through over-regulation of government to the nth degree. Yeah. That is what fascism is. Yeah. Fascism says we're going to have car companies in here, but here's the list of regulations to go through to get the license at the end. And my cousin Bill is the guy who's going to hand out those licenses.
And that's the law.
And you didn't donate to the National Socialist Party, so you don't get a license.
Yeah.
But Bob over there always gives us $5,000. Bob gets a license. In fact, Bob is such a good friend of ours. We're going to give him the whole region of Southern Ontario.
And if you think this all sounds crazy, I'd just like to remind you that that is what the new Democratic Party in British Columbia is doing right now with contracts on construction and their union buddies. It's the same thing. It's a form of fascism. I'm going to pick the winners and losers in the economy, and that's just that.
And
you
will do what the fuck I say.
And you'll do as you're told. Exactly. Right. So the point I was trying to make there is that Mark Emery takes a lot of flack from those left-wing people because he just beats the freedom drum 110%. He's been anti-lockdown since day one and and he doesn't get tricked into thinking legal weed is anything other than what it is, which is another attempt at a fascist takeover of the cannabis industry. A failed one, by the way, because nobody in the government knows how to grow weed. Even if you're if I was a smart fascist, wouldn't you want to recruit? But they didn't.
Best of the best.
They cut everyone who was in the black market out and just went, no, you're all criminals. You're all dirty. Go away. You can apply for licenses and maybe a couple of you will get some, maybe.
Chris Goodwin bought one.
Meanwhile, we're going to turn the industry itself over to former cop who spent his life throwing people in prison for weed and all of his friends and some liberal donors and a couple more former police chiefs. It's disgusting. That's
Julian
fascism.
Fantino, Chuck Grafisi. They're my two favorites. Fantino was the police chief in York Region in metropolitan Toronto. Mm-hmm. And he's like way up in Tweed. And then Chuck Grafisi was the CFO for the Liberal Party, and he was the start of the Canopy.
Yeah, and that's all these places that you dummies are pouring your money. Aurora, Tweed, Canopy. These are the corrupt fascist institutions. You want to support real, free weed?
Go on weedmaps.ca.
There it is.
Find a local dealer who's growing the shit in his backyard. Yep. I'm telling you, the best thing that ever happened to the black market was legalization. Because now you fuckers have competition and you actually have to show up.
Yep.
Now I've got 37 different strains of weed. I got vape pens coming to my door. The guy delivers me fucking munchies, Kyle.
That's service with a smile.
I get a thing of glossettes. I get a tub of nibs. He gives me a hot rod. And then I get my weed.
And we laugh, right? Because it's weed. But really think about this. Government would never provide you this level of service because they don't compete. They demand.
Shows up at my door within the hour, delivered right to me. If there's a problem with the order when he shows up, I look in the bag, oh, I ordered this or I ordered that. You missed this or you fucked this up. Mm-hmm. He always reaches in the back and grabs me 2 bags of edibles, some gummy bears, and goes here for the inconvenience.
You'll definitely never see the government admit they made a mistake.
No. And so what legalization really did was make the black market legitimize itself to the customer.
Yes.
Not to the government so much, but to the customer.
Yeah.
So now if you want my business, I can walk in the fucking store anytime I want and get 37 different strains. What do you offer me? Well, I'm offering you door-to-door service. I'm offering you a munchie bag. I'm offering you, whatever you want. I've got all kinds of good strains, and I've got all kinds of good prices.
Well, and everything that for those who are listening who maybe don't smoke pot or just don't care about it that much, nonetheless, everything you're hearing about the industry being a failure is true. The quality of the product that the government is trying to pitch to people who have been smoking cannabis their whole lives, growing cannabis their whole lives, is, I can't even think of an analogy. I mean, it would be like me trying to tell you how to lay bricks. It would be like me, like, hey, no, come look at the way I've done it. And I've got like this disgusting, like Pablo Picasso painting made out of bricks on the side of a wall. And you're like, what the heck? And I go,
what it would actually be like is you saying everybody who's laid a brick up to this point is a fucking criminal and a fool and they don't know how to do it. I've now issued 5,000 new bricklayers certified by the government who've gone to my training class. It costs $10 million to take the training class to become a bricklayer.
And I taught them all how to make this Pablo Picasso painting the exact same way.
You can no longer fucking have anybody else do it.
That's a much more apt analogy. I just thought of another place where this has happened in history, where people who were experts were forced by government edict out of their position and replaced by people who weren't experts. It happened in Ukraine with farmers. Does anyone want to guess what happened after that?
Death.
A lot of Ukrainians starved to death.
Well, the state came in and said, well, there's not enough grain for the whole country, and Russia matters way the fuck more than you do here in Ukraine, so we're just going to take it all. And,
I mean, they would also say, hey, you know how you just picked up enough to feed yourself off of the ground there? Yeah, that's actually punishable by death.
That's ours.
That belongs to the people. And they were righteously indignant about it. Like, you just stole wheat from the mouth of the people. You're dead.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, but we haven't eaten in weeks. And it's like, oh, well, you're fair
not the people.
Yeah, you're not the people.
You're the grower, and you don't count. There was like, you want to talk how people turn to cannibalism. Wait. In this fucking country, if our supply chain actually does break, it's cracking right now, but if it actually breaks, how long do you think it takes for people in Toronto when they go into a grocery store and it's empty? How many hours do you think that person who doesn't have food on the shelf is going to wait before he kicks in your fucking door and eats all of your food, or better yet, shoots you in the fucking head and throws you on the barbecue because there's only one tank of propane left. I need to cook the meat before it goes bad. Yep. How long do you think before that happens?
Yep.
And it sounds retarded when you say
here,
that.
I'll give you a less extreme example that is just as emotionally visceral, which is I own a cat, and that cat is a member of my family, the way I look at that. And I've owned dogs before, and people look at their dogs like that's part of the family. How many hours do you think it's going to be before somebody shoots your fucking dog
and eats it? Yeah.
Because that will happen. That has happened. We have multiple examples in history. So all of this stuff, basically whenever you're thinking, oh, these two, smoke some more weed, this sounds pretty insane. It's like, go look at what already happened. The 19th and 20th century, we poured rivers of blood on the earth to prove that these ideas don't work. They just don't work. They fail every time, and they killed millions of people, and it's still nothing compared to what China has done. Jesus.
That's right. And the communists co-opted the word capitalist, and it now represents what fascism is.
Yes.
When you're talking capitalism, it's cronyism, it's fascism.
That's what we've been saying. Crony capitalism.
Crony capitalism. I said it on a debate stage. It's funny. The last federal election, the NDP candidate sat right beside me, and she was just chewing on capitalism this, capitalism that. The last 150 years of capitalism have failed. And I had enough. And I took a breath and I said, listen, first off, what you're talking about is cronyism. It is not capitalism. Capitalism is the best thing that ever happened to society. Everybody went, woo, because there was a crowd full of them. And I said, no, you're mistaken on the word.
Yep.
This is fascism we live in. And fascism is shit. And we shouldn't be living in fascism. We should be living in capitalism. And I certainly don't want to live in communism. Because I watched, my father escaped that in 52. He was a 14-year-old kid that swam the Danube River in fucking March.
Yeah, people may not know this about your father and where
what drives a 14-year-old kid with a grade 4 education and barely labored for bricklayers for a few months to swim a fucking river into another country where you have no home, no job, or no money to get away from where you are.
You think people are running away from capitalism like that?
No. I've yet to see it.
Yeah.
But I'm awful close to running away from fascism in Canada. And as much as I'm here fighting to save this country, I stare at that American border every day and I go, you know,
you
what?
and me both, man.
Donald Trump doesn't look so fucking bad right now.
Oh God, compared to Trudeau.
With the guy who's standing there going, you know what? You should be pushing back against these states. They should be opening up.
Yep.
I'm like,
man,
that guy I think he read the fucking Constitution.
Oh.
Because he's like, I could write an executive order and force everybody to open up, but
especially in this day and age when nobody's even educated on what the president is allowed to do and not do, and so the president can do whatever the hell he wants, right? Because the pushback's all unseen. Nobody's watching. Right. Nobody's watching Senate debates. You and me do. But you think that's what most people are doing when they come home from work? It's like, oh, let's turn on Span and, you know, let's go watch. They don't have
the time, Kyle. They're too busy trying to figure out how the fuck they're going to pay their rent and feed themselves for the month.
Exactly.
And which amenity are they going to go out with this month? Do I pay my car insurance or do I have like air conditioning in my house? Or, you know, these are the real questions people are weighing on their minds right now. Yep. They're not worried what the fuck is being said in the Senate or in the House.
Yep.
You know, it's a vague, distant, you know, reality to them. You know, all they know is they're getting fucked. That's you. If you ask any Canadian, is the government fucking you right now? They go, yes.
Yeah.
How are you going to fix it? I'm going to vote for the other guy that fucked me last time.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is where we're at right now in Canada is, oh, I know they're bad, but the CPC is the only viable blah, 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 blah. They are not viable. They are worse than the Liberals. You heard me, and I'll say it again. They are worse than the Liberals. They sold conservatism out to a bunch of fascist lobbyists. Actually think about that for a minute. Yeah, Trudeau's disgusting and pathetic and meek and cowardly and just about the worst thing that's ever happened.
But he'll look at you in the face and say, I want communism, and you're all fucked.
At least he's honest. I admire China's basic dictatorship because they can turn their economy around on a dime. You know, we need to go green right now. They can get it done. He said that to a room full of people, and they just sat there and took it.
Yeah, they're like, oh, that's great.
That's a strange point. I hadn't thought about tyranny like that.
Maybe communism's a good thing.
Meanwhile, I'm becoming more of a Western chauvinist. I'm like, cut China off. Cut them off.
Yeah.
Completely. Cut them off and let them stay that way for a decade.
I'll pay $5 a pen if we can cut China out of the fucking picture.
I'm willing to pay a little bit more for products that aren't made like trash and that doesn't fund a communist fascist state.
I was just going to say that pen will probably last a lot longer and I won't have to buy a pack of 20 to find 3 that work.
Well, yeah, you think you're paying less. You're literally not. You buy the same damn can opener every 6 months. Just pay $10 more for one made out of way too much steel in an American company where a guy took it out of the thing after it was finished and went bang bang. Yeah, that'll do.
Took it out of the box, his hand dropped because it weighed 4 pounds.
He took it out and went, holy Jesus. Yeah, that's all right.
Think we can cut down on the steel? No, it has to last.
It has to last.
All right.
We won't have our name dragged through the mud making garbage, but China does not care.
They don't care. No, they don't care. The point of China not caring is starting a pandemic in your own country or knowing that it started in your own country and immediately start buying up all the fucking PPP from around the world and send your people to those countries knowing that they'd have to buy that PPE back from you.
Yep.
And then you could sell them all the faulty shit mixed in with it. You know, I got 10 million boxes of masks that are all fucked up. Let's split those amongst the Western world.
And literally have traces of COVID in them.
Yeah.
You know, like even when you take, and I've already said this like 3 times this podcast, I should stop saying it so much, but it's a point of mine. Even if we take the least conspiratorial, most validated, most publicly recognizable take of the situation, what happened was China lied to the entire world for roughly a month. We don't know. In that time, they allowed hundreds of thousands of sick people to travel all over the world. They bought up millions upon millions of dollars of our protective equipment with fake Chinese money. And when people figure out how Chinese money works, they're going to be real mad. They have the World Health Organization in their back pocket. They have our public health minister, or health minister, whatever the hell her title is, Tam, in their back pocket. Even when the WHO was proven to have gotten it wrong on multiple counts, China backed them, they backed China. Why are we tolerating this? Why? And again, yeah, I don't like him as a person, but I got to give it to the Trump administration, because Obama's spineless administration would have never stood up to China even a little bit. The
whole country of the United States would be on lockdown under executive order right now, and there'd be no end in sight.
And red flag laws would be being executed all over the country. Well, just to be sure, in this time of crisis, let's take away the guns.
And your contact tracing would be already enabled.
Oh my God. And people don't understand this either. You want to talk about an Orwellian nightmare. Let's talk about this app they have in Hong Kong. Love Hong Kong, but they're still way too close to China, so sometimes they get ideas. You have to take either your phone, I think, or a device. I think it's your phone. It's an app, and you have to trace like the edge of your home, and then it alerts them when you cross that line. People are literally boxing themselves into a digital
if you weren't in the Matrix before.
Right, and this
is
why
you drew the Matrix around your house.
I think this is why I keep saying these words. Like, even if we ignore the conspiracy theories, it's because I am having trouble right now even believing that half of this shit is happening.
Oh, Kyle,
it just blows me away.
Every person that I've spoken to, I've said the same thing. Never in my lifetime did I ever think I would see this shit going down, and I'm on the front lines of liberty fighting for freedoms. Mm-hmm. I was, and anybody who's listening, I was fighting for your freedoms before you didn't even know you didn't have them.
That's the truth.
How's that for a fucking statement?
Yeah.
I've been calling the Charter of Privileges and Allowances that exact name for 5 years, and I've told you that the notwithstanding clause is there to take a beautifully written document and turn it into toilet paper.
Yep, it's worthless with that clause. Explain that. Explain that.
If at any moment the government can usurp your inviolable rights for anything that they deem reasonable, it's no longer an inviolable right. The word inviolable means it cannot be taken from you.
Yep.
It cannot leave you. Yep. So it is no longer a right. And I will take you one step further and say there's no government document that you could even write that will enshrine your rights. Because when you're standing on a fucking street corner and someone pulls a gun out of your pocket, he has your rights. Until you're willing to defend them with your life, they're a privilege. And anybody who can pull a fucking gun out of their pocket and take your rights from you at any time without you defending them makes it a privilege. So pretend like the government doesn't exist and understand that you are in charge of you. It's the reason that I smoked weed my whole life, even though it was illegal. You don't tell me what I can do or what I cannot do. I tell me what's good, and I make my own choices in this life.
Yep.
And I have the right to smoke pot as long as I choose to deal with whatever stupid bullshit you're going to throw my way. You want to throw me in jail for it? Go ahead. It doesn't make it wrong. Makes you fucking wrong. It makes you twice wrong. Once for arresting me, once for throwing me in jail for doing something that's perfectly fine. I'm not hurting
harmless.
I'm not hurting anybody. But and if you want to say I'm hurting myself, well, that's my choice. You don't arrest a guy when he hits his fucking thumb on the job site with a brick hammer.
Yep.
Wouldn't that be foolish? You hurt yourself.
It would be real dumb. Yeah, you hurt yourself. You're going to prison, buddy.
Yeah.
We told you. You're not allowed to hurt yourself.
So you are in charge of your rights. And a right
and just as a very quick aside, when you have public monopolized healthcare, that discussion right there becomes a whole lot more difficult. Because people will go, yeah, but then I have to pay for your mistakes. And we've been looking at them for 30 years in the face going, I don't want your public health care. I want private health care. But last time I tried to go buy private health care, I ended up in jail. And so did the physician. So
I want out. And I love that. You're protesting? I want you to sign a waiver saying that if you get COVID, you aren't entitled to health care. I said, I'll sign the waiver tomorrow if I don't have to pay for it.
Yep. You give me that health care money.
You don't want me to participate. I agree. I don't want to have to pay for it. Do you
We're-
agree?
We're on the same team.
Are
here.
we on the same page
So
now?
just give me my money back and I'll be on my way. And they go, we didn't say you could take your money.
That's right. So then you can't take my health care because
Yeah,
I'm
you
paying
can't take
for
my
it.
health care away then.
And as foolish as I want to be, you can't take the care away from me that you're forcing me to pay for. It goes both ways. What about the guy who buys a snowmobile legally, insures it legally, and drives it 150 miles an hour into a fucking pole, and we got to scrape his brain off the ground? Why didn't you say anything to him?
Mhm.
Why wasn't there a governor put on his fucking motor at 30 miles an hour by Health Canada?
Don't give them
Because-
ideas.
Because healthcare.
Don't give them ideas.
Oh, let's do it. If you're going to fucking do it right.
Yeah.
Everybody at the age of 3 gets 600 vaccines in bubble wrap.
Yeah.
And they poke a hole, 2 holes for your eyes and 1 for your nose, 1 for your mouth. Because you got to put the feeding straw in there and you got to be able to breathe. And I want you to see as I take your shit from you.
It's of course not standard issue bubble wrap. This is special government bubble wrap. It's the exact same thing, but it costs way more.
6 times the amount.
Yeah.
And it's only produced by Union Bubble Wrap.
And the TSA agent has to put it on you.
That's right.
They're real loving about it. They're real,
Sweet.
real caring.
Which is, and when we joke, but at the end of the day, this is fucking real shit going on. This is stupidity.
Well, we
You-
joke
you-
because of the death of 1,000 slices syndrome.
Yeah.
You don't have a government come along and go, all your freedoms, give them here. I mean, you do occasionally, and then millions of people die. But the general way it happens is it is a little dumb thing that you could joke about on a Saturday. Oh, yeah, well, we're not allowed to do that. I mean, that's how pot was treated for years, right? It's like, yeah, but I mean, it's legal for white people, and the crimes doesn't hurt anyone. So let's just ignore that whole problem. And it's like,
just
no,
nice. It's nice for us to have a reason to arrest those fucking lesser folks.
Exactly.
I'm not going to bug you with it, Mr. Komar, because you're white. And when I pull you over and say, "Where's your weed?" I tell you, "Fuck off," and they go, "Okay, well, yeah, you're white."
Yeah, I guess. Right.
You're really not
The
doing
drug
anything.
war. I mean, Christ, you people want to fix racism. Why don't you start with the right policies? The drug war was instituted as a racist policy.
So was minimum wage.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
We're
have
going to
that
price them out.
conversation.
We're going to price them out. That's absolutely the case. And if people knew the history of these policies that they adore because they've been told it's for you, it's for you, it's for you. We're trying to
Started
take
by
care
the
of
Democratic Klux Klan.
you. Yeah, that's right. Oh God, I'm amazed that party hasn't just fallen apart. It might after this one actually, because I mean, I can't believe I'm about to shill for Bernie Sanders here because but the man is right when he says he's being robbed. You know,
Sure.
they're taking it from him every
Sure.
time.
Sure.
And it's
He's Ron Paul of the Democratic Party. He had a movement. He had the people behind him. He had the youth.
Mhm.
And they're like, no, you're not a rich old white fucker. Shut up.
I mean,
Get outta
even if
here."
you're not on board with them, I've learned some things since that I'm not a big fan of. Even Maxime Bernier, though, you look at how they did him wrong, right? It's the same thing. It's like, oh, you have all of the support. Well, we accidentally counted 6,000 more ballots than there were people here voting. Oops.
That's right.
Better burn that right away.
We got to stretch this a little further, boys, because even with the stupid fucking ranked ballot from 1 to 13, he's still at 51%.
He's so
We need to add a few
ridiculously
more,
popular and everyone's second and third choice. And
And you know, as much as I carve on Maxime Bernier again, because of his voting record, which is atrocious,
Mhm.
and I don't, you know, you were in the House and you tried to go along to get along, and I'm not that guy. You couldn't do that with me. Perfect example is in the last federal election when the PPC said, you know what, you've run before, we need a candidate here, would you run? And I said, no, I'm going to run for the Libertarian Party. And they're like, well, why? There's only 20 other fucking candidates. And I said, well, it's because I have ethics and morals, and you don't quite achieve my moral set. And I'm not saying that they're not mostly libertarian, and I could have probably gotten behind most of that platform, but I know who I am in my heart, and winning doesn't matter to me. I'm not here to win. You can't buy me. I have no price. I'm just a broke bricklayer who doesn't give a fuck about any of it. And you can't have me. I'm me, and I own me, and I refuse to sell even one of my morals short. So
that Trump effect.
It's choice.
You're going to have that Trump effect. You know, the story that got woven around him was a similar idea. It was in this case, it was because he was too rich, but it was the same idea. He can't be bought. And people were so happy just about that idea that they fucking elected him president of the United States. A reality TV star / hotel guy.
Yeah.
They elected him simply because he bucked the system.
Couldn't buy him. Yeah.
Libertarians, pay attention.
Yeah.
Pay attention. You don't have to like him. You don't have to like his policies, but pay attention how he won.
But walk the walk.
Yeah.
And talk the talk.
Yeah.
Don't say one thing and do something else. If you can be bought, tell everybody you got a price. I don't have a price because I don't care. I'm happy with what I have in this world. I need my vape pen, and I need a roof over my head, and I need my trowel.
Yeah.
And I'm good to go.
And since you're perfectly capable of providing those things for yourself, there's no amount of free vape pens the government can come along and offer you to make you sacrifice your morals.
When I was with you in Cranbrook, we were talking. I was going through Health Canada to get the approval to open up an LP.
Yeah.
That was a thing. I was doing paperwork on that. Well, at the end of the day, I got the approval, but I needed to put together an $11 million facility.
Just out of your pocket money, I guess.
Well, you know what? We love the 6-foot fence with the fucking razor wire at the top, and we love the digital system that you want to acquire that costs $1 million to keep track of all of these things, because that's basically what they ask you to do, is to build this fortress to keep the weed in. Well, so I've got a buddy named Jason, ex-RCMP, was really high up in Nunavut at the time. He was, like second in command. He's making like $300,000 a year. It's on indigenous land, and he's 1/16 fucking some type of Indian, so he doesn't pay any tax. And he's blonde hair, blue-eyed Indian. I never seen one before in my life, but it exists in Canada somewhere.
Just a couple in Nunavut, yeah.
But so he's loaded in cash. He's like, Keith, I could put together 15 investors, and we'd have that $11 million tomorrow. And so now here I am with this fucking license. This it's not a license. Basically what it is, it's a right to proceed to level 2. You still have to build the facility. You still have to grow.
Oh yeah.
You still have to do all these things, right?
You got through a hope.
I got through the first 2.
Yeah.
Now with all these boys on, ex-RCMPs and fucking, I'm sure it would have proceeded. Yeah. But they're basically buying me out. What's going to happen, Keith, is we've got all the money and you've got that license. So we'll give you like $500,000 and we'll give you a job for 5 years as the chief blowjob officer of whatever the fuck you want at $250,000 a year. And you get to just sit in your office and smoke weed and not care. And then we'll buy you out at the end and you can be gone.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd have been set for life, Kyle. There's enough money in that for me to buy that house out in the middle of nowhere at $260,000 because real estate's fucked everywhere.
Yep.
But I don't need to be close, and I buy myself a nice $35,000 used truck and buy 10 years worth of fucking insurance up front and just set myself right up with that $500,000 would have been great. Right. And your little cushy job would have carried me for the next, 30 years. I would have retired comfortably and had something to give to my kids.
Yeah.
So I literally had to sit down and sweat that thought out and have that conversation with myself. Do I have a price? Is this my price?
Is my price number? This much money? Is it about the money? Well, and you know what? I don't even think that's a legitimate question, because there's a good handful of humans who would have said, you're absolutely crazy. You should have taken that money.
Everybody I know.
But
you're a fucking fool. But I didn't take it. I sat down and I had the moral conversation with myself, and I don't believe in the LP model, and I believe in craft cannabis, and I believe that everybody should have the right to grow, and I will open up a fucking grow op when everybody can open up a grow op.
Mm-hmm.
And when we do, we'll probably grow some of the best fucking weed in the world, because I know some really good fucking growers, and I'll pay top dollar to those guys to come and grow my crop.
Yep.
But until everybody can do it, I'm not buying in. I'm not
because at that point you are.
I'm promoting the fucking
the fascist idea, right? You're a corporation climbing into bed with government to get a special advantage. This is the problem we're talking about. Yes,
and I'm not one of those. I'm not a fascist. And at the end of the day, that was my test for me. And it's the the Jesus on the mountain with the temptation of Satan sitting there going, here, I got this. So it's a chick.
No, but I'll give you all of it. All of it. Right. Am I a fascist for $250,000 a year?
Yeah. No. And so now I'm the leader of the Ontario Libertarian Party, and I'm not a fascist. And I'm pretty sure after that, if that didn't buy me, there's nothing you got.
That's
Because
right.
that was past the mark of setting me up for life.
Yeah, because I mean, you know, if I asked you honestly, you'd love that job.
Come on.
What a job.
Me sitting in a
Yeah.
fucking office being in control of a fucking 10,000 square foot grow op? Doing all of the fucking, R&D, mix the gelato with the citrus because I like chocolate lemons.
Because
and
I
that's
just
gonna-
did, and it is wild. So.
Fucking rocking, baby. Those terpenes kick ass.
I gotta use the washroom here, and then I gotta get ready for some party meetings here that I gotta.
You do. You're a busy man, and you and I could talk for hours and hours and hours. As we always do.
Well, let's do another one.
It's always a great conversation. And now, Kyle.
Yes, sir.
I said, you know why I like Kyle? Because he's honest and he'll tell you how he sits, and he doesn't give a fuck about what you think about him.
That's basically the 2 cents of it, man. I don't.
And
change.
you are who you are.
I don't change for other people.
No, and that's what more can you ask for in a libertarian?
Maybe just a little, right? A little humanity, a little empathizing, but there's so many people willing to demand that you change all the time that you can get lost. You can just become a droplet of water in the river, and you don't matter anymore.
I'd rather be me. I'd rather be a small me than a big them.
That's right. That's right. And we prefer dangerous liberty to the safety of slavery.
Fuck slavery.
That's right.
Right in the eye. All right, buddy. Great talk. We'll do this again soon.
Absolutely. Let's do it again soon. All right. Thanks, Keith.
Always a pleasure.
Look behind.